Okay, so good evening, everybody. I hope you've had a really good day. I hope all is well with you. Let me just do some positioning here. Karibuni sana to this month's series. We are doing a lot around systems this month, and it's exciting to be able to see how things are going. So we fielded many questions around marketing. We've described our avatar this year. We have talked about finances related to marketing, but also in ways that we could easily replicate and apply it to our various aspects of business. And this month we are doing systems at scale. Why? In this space, remember, we're all building businesses and we want to be able to step back and remain strategic and not just do everything all the time. So my name is Chesubire Talitwala, co-founder at African MSME Collective, alongside the one and only the original Joe Mukoko, who you shall be meeting in a bit. He shall be taking us through a part of the session. What we want to do is have 4 critical conversations around build once, use repeatedly, and we'll do that through the month. So last week we talked about how to never lose leads again. And we're talking about lead management systems. How do you take customers from the first interest to when they close? And I trust that some of us were able to put systems into practice. We also had one of us who shared his lead management system, which is evolving from a notebook to now a software. So that was really exciting to be able to just hear how different colleagues have been doing it. If you have missed that one, as you can see on the screen, just go to our YouTube channel. You will find the whole session there. We put up all our sessions within about 12 to 24 hours. So if you miss or you know somebody who needed to listen to it, just go to the site it's usually by about by morning, tomorrow morning, mid-morning, it should be up. Just go and share the link with them, go back and revisit and revise, and let's come and tell us stories of application. All right. So what I want us to do today is to jump into our conversation, and we will definitely have a good time. So today we're talking about blueprints. Last week we're talking all about how to then capture, organize, and follow up every lead. And I'm trusting that we went and we did that. We had an assignment to look at our process and figure out how to do our leads. I hope some of us were able to do that, and we saw progress of the same. So why does it matter that we would have a blueprint? So a defining moment for every growing business is when we realize that we cannot rely on memory only. When you're starting, it's very easy to rely on memory because you have maybe 2, 3 clients and the orders are not as many. But as we continuously grow and as we continuously find our way into the pathways and the loops that we're looking for, what eventually happens is that we realize, hey, my memory is not everything it used to be. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I think as we get more and more busy and we have more to focus on, our memory does take a beating. So we want to move from the place where everything is written, everything is, sorry, not written, everything is in our minds, that if somebody wants something, like, let me think about it. Okay, so you should do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what we want to break. Because when we have everything and everyone dependent on us, eventually we become the cog in the system. So many times when we're having balls dropped, we didn't follow up on this, we lost that client. Usually it's not a capacity problem. It's a systems problem, because businesses grow through people and we scale through systems. So let's say I've been turning over around 3 orders a day. Now I need to do more than that. What is the thing I must do? The thing I must do is to ensure that even if I'm not there, somebody else can run the system in such a way that we will still have that client. So we must understand that when we don't document the critical tasks, or we don't have a consistent process we follow, every day is uncertain. People will come and do the same task differently, so the outcomes are different. And you're wondering, why aren't we getting things right? Very likely because you don't have a system, or customers don't have the same experience. And I don't know whether you've experienced this. You go to one Naivas and you have such good care. You go to the other Naivas and it's so confusing. A few Christmases ago, I was shopping in Naivas. I was looking for a tree, and I was just, you just look at the Christmas trees. And then a guy walked up to me and said, "Hi, I am a Naivas personal shopper. Can I assist you with your shopping today?" First of all, I was floored. How is it that I was picked? And then he actually looked at the product I was looking for. I said, "This is what I'm looking for. It's not on the floor." Went into and got somebody from the store. They got me what I wanted. And then he asked me, "Any more shopping you're doing?" Led me through all the aisles. It was a new Naivas, so I was not conversant with it. "What's it, the next thing on your list?" I tell him we go like that, like that, like that. Then he said, "Give me a minute," and walked through all the lines and went and negotiated for me to be skipped in a different line. I don't know this guy from Adam. I've never met him before. But if I was not a Naivas customer as diligently as I already was, that would have been the day I'd have moved. Why? Because I was seen, I was served, and I was accelerated through the system. So when we spend more time solving recurring problems than creating opportunities, then we are, forgive me for saying this, but we're wasting very good resources. We must be at the place where we're able to ensure consistency in everything. Invoices go out at this time. Projects, we keep them on. We don't lose our timelines. Everything is on track. Quality is the same, and then I can be doing the things I'm best at as the team does the rest. But the only way to do that is to ensure that we have a blueprint. Don't worry, I'm not asking you to buy some very expensive software. I'm asking you to have a thought process that is intentional and not accidental. That's what I'm asking you to do. Sometimes your blueprint would be one page, it can be two lines. It would be one page, to be a couple of pages. It could be in a spreadsheet that people know. Worksheet one is this, worksheet two is that. So when you walk through these processes, you can train new staff members to run the system effectively. That's why we're looking at blueprints today. Because when people know what they're supposed to do, work becomes easier. So we're going to define about 5 things. A business system is a repeatable process that helps the business perform important activity consistently. The thing that brings customers back is a consistent experience. All right? That's a system. A business blueprint is a documented collection of the key systems and processes that enable a business to operate effectively. Remember, there's a way you order, there's a way you sell, there is a way you market, there is a way you follow up. All those ones are microsystems. So the blueprint has all of them together, right? And it also shows where they interlink. Remember, we said your marketing generates leads, your sales team closes the leads. Sometimes you are the sales and marketing team. So whoever is supposed to generate. So let's say you're running an ad, and in the ad you're running, you are looking for phone numbers, or you're saying WhatsApp us. So 300 people send you WhatsApp messages. Is that your personal line? Is it your WhatsApp for business line? How are you able to categorize them? What do you do when you get calls like that? So that's the business system around marketing and follow up. When you combine all these systems, how you sell, how you invoice, how you do your finances, then you have your blueprint. All right. Process is a sequence of steps that achieves a specific outcome. All right. An SOP is a documented guide explaining how a recurring task is completed. So let's say one of the other businesses I'm involved in is a publishing house. We have a process. Somebody brings us a book, we review it. So we have the process of review, we have the process of editorial, we have the process of printing and how we deliver it to client. We also have a reorder process so that when client now has offloaded the books they ordered, there is a way we They let us know and we order the next batch, right? There are clear steps on how it happens. So like yesterday, we had an inquiry. I was sitting with somebody, they needed some printing done. The price they were getting for the quality they were being offered, we could get something not too far from that, higher quality. So I asked, what are you looking for? I know who to send the request to. They know where to get the quote and how to send it back, and how, after conversations with client, when client confirms, we now send out the invoice or the quotation, depending on what process we're in. So the SOP is what guided me. So we quickly did it within an hour, give or take, with client feedback. So you have to understand the system, the blueprint, the process, the SOP, because at the end of the day, we are working to systematize, okay? Systemization is the deliberate process of identifying, documenting, improving, and repeating the way all the work gets done. Now, this is a critical component because when you are out, who else can make sure the tasks of the day are done? I also have a system with my VA. We check in on Monday, have a long planning meeting through the week, and every day she reminds me what I need to do for the day. Now, we all know ourselves, work could increase. If work increases, then I revise the list and I send it back to her. We have a system now where any work that didn't get done yesterday is put on today's list with a star, because any work designated for the week is critical to the success of operation, right? So when we understand these things, we realize that developing systems is mandatory. Do they take work? Absolutely. But they're important. So why are they important? Because every business already has existing system. They may not be intentional, they may be accidental, but they exist. That is really the question. If every quotation is prepared differently, do we look professional? No. Quotations should have a standard format. They should have a standard set of people who are copied. They should be clarified and confirmed with finance to ensure that we are making profit, which means pricing is standardized. So if we have a standardized pricing list, let's say we're in the event business, we have tents, we've got chameleon chairs, Chevari chairs, we have lux seats, we have A frames, B frames, regular tents, we have pergolas. What will happen is, when set out to send a quote, there's a standardized price list that finance and business owner have already approved. So then there is a format. Now, if we don't have a format and we just say put on letterhead, what happens is we begin to confuse clients. Because maybe today you deal with Chesubire, and Chesubire gives a certain format. You come back next week, you deal with Maggie. Maggie gives a different format, and there's a way you're used to working with the quotations you've received. So we all have systems. The question is it informal, built around my memory as a business owner, or is it intentionally built? Because intentional systems create predictable outcomes. When we go to set up, how do we set up? What do we do first? Maybe someone will say, let's spread out the chairs. How do you spread out the chairs before you put up the tent, right? When you pack the truck, is there a specific order of how you pack the truck? I have seen certain people put the plastic sticks right on the top, so that on the inside you have the tents, the canvas, the poles, and everything, and you have the linen all inside there if you're carrying linen for tables, and you have the drapery fabric, you have the lights which are in boxes, So is there a way we pack our truck so when we get to site, do we have to download the PS system which we're putting up last before we take out the tent, the tent canopies, right? Or will the PS system come later? Do we want to do one trip, right? That is all built around an intentional system. And I use the events business because I remember watching a friend of mine who ran an event business and watching his teams pack the truck. It was completely hilarious. Poles went down, seats went to the back, canopies and canvases came to the front. because the first thing they ever set up when they got to a site was tents. So there was a way they had the frames and they had a built-in, almost like a cupboard on the side. So when they came to site, that's the first thing they pulled out. And as the guys for hoisting the tent are continuing their work, the others will now do the other offloading the seats, the what. Because they had an intentional system as opposed to an informal one. And you see, the intentional one ensures we know what needs to happen, when it should happen, and who is responsible for making it happen. So everybody is on the same page. So the first step towards systemization is recognizing that every repeated activity already follows a pattern. So when the pattern is visible, number one, document it. Number two, let's go and improve it as we go along. What is working, what is not working. I remember in my event days, I had gone to all my suppliers' locations, so I knew where everybody was based, and I knew the distance to most places across the city, and I knew the traffic patterns. So let's say I've told a client we come and we do a walkthrough at 4. We're supposed to be meeting on site at 10. And at 10 o'clock, I call my tent guy and they're still loading the truck. I already know on this point we're 2 hours behind. So I'll call client and be like, we're having delays today. Let's just do this walkthrough at 5:30. I will not change the time for my suppliers. I will push my client back so that they don't come and get disappointed. Why? We had mastered pattern recognition, which is what your system will tell you. What are the patterns you live by? When you've identified and recognized your patterns, the next thing is to document what you repeat. Because we do these things every day. We load the truck from the left to the right. We put the seats in first at the back. We put the linen next. We put the tent canopies first. Nearer the front, first of all, there's cushioning for the seats. You have all those reasons why you do what you do. When you're carrying your tables, what kind of tables do you have? So what this friend of mine ended up doing is he, instead of, the way many of them have um, removable legs, he went for thick wood and a thick plywood on top and a different set of legs. So instead of having poles like this, they slipped into slots. So even how they arranged them, how they were able to pack them, eased their transportation because they figured out what are the same issues we solve every time. Tabletops breaking apart, or people want small tables, they have long tables. So they developed 2 sizes of tables. They took on thicker wood. They actually had solid wood on the inside, not just this thin boughs with plywood on either side. Their tables were solid. All right. And we all knew that when you put up a table, even I could put up tables on my own. We could set up together because how they rearranged their equipment facilitated speedy setups. All right. So they documented, they even knew when people go on site who are the core 3 people to have, and everybody has their role and everybody supports the other roles. That is why documenting, having recognized your patterns, is critical. Because it's not just about creating paperwork, it's preserving knowledge so that when you have a new hire, it doesn't matter that, in the events business, when you're setting up multiple events, you probably have 40% to 60% of your team are casuals. So whenever you bring in people, you do orientation, even minor orientation, and you keep going and you're able to deliver the same standard, even when you as a founder are unavailable. So what happened? Because their systems were documented, they could deploy to 6 locations in a single day. They also knew when there was they were running a backend system. So as things are issued out, you can come into the system and already see we don't have. And you're not just going to anybody, you have your partner suppliers in order of priority. All this is because you're documenting your patterns. And really the objective is not to document everything at once, but to begin with the activities that happen most frequently, the ones that you're most likely to front face on a daily and have the greatest impact on your customers. Once those are done, you move to the next layer because the intention is that you can come to an organization or somebody can join your organization and they can quickly pick up. That is why you find in corporates, you've got the employee manual. I remember working in a small corporate and we actually designed I did put together the employee manual. When we hired the next person, all we did was print and say, here you go. Thank you very much. And study this for the next 2 days. And then um, we can proceed from there. So then that person comes and asks questions. Oh, we do this, we do this. I read this, I read that. So this is how we do leave. This is how we do off this. This is how we come. Then we had a policy every week, a different person organized lunch. So you're 12 people, every quarter, you have a day to cook lunch. So a week, sorry. Yeah, it's a week. You supervise the buying, the cooking, and all that. Of course, we worked with an internal person in the kitchen, but you were in charge of it. All that was documented. So people who didn't like to do that would be like, I don't want to, like, figure it out. That's how we are. It facilitated bonding, it facilitated connection with a brand. So you document what you repeat so that others can read when they come. Number 3, understand that the reason we put up systems is it will improve our decision making. Why? Information is organized. Processes are clear. So you don't have to keep thinking, what are we supposed to be doing today? I remember this week we're designing in terms of our marketing activities. What do we do on every day? When is it developed? When is it generated? Where does it sit? Who's in charge of what? That helps us to have more strategic time. Instead of consistently getting stuck in how do we do this, who is responsible, we now are able to move to how do we improve on this, right? So then you have taken out the daily issues off your hand. Do you think the CEO of Naivas is in every shop figuring out how the shops run daily? No. They have SOPs. So if I come and I set up a Naivas, I get a blueprint on the look, I get a blueprint on the layout, I get systems and structures that need to be implemented. They hook me up with a central kind of software so they can track which branches are doing what is moving where, so that then I order what is moving in my branch, right? If you remember the Nakumat model, you would go and find certain things are not in the town Nakumat, but they're in the Karen, the village market, and the Westlands one, because those things are bought more by a certain demographic. You also would realize that Naivas was in the, it was always in upmarket malls or in the CBD or around town. It was never near bus stops. But every major bus stop in town had a Tuskies. It had these guys who had a orange and white logo. I forget their name, but there was Tuskies, Eastmart. Those ones were around the bus stations. So now, if you look at how Naivas has positioned itself, one is positioned itself close and local alongside Quickmart. So Naivas and Quickmart are now going head to head into residentials, but to a certain point. And then you find Carrefour, whose model is big one at Mega, big one in Karen, big one in Westlands, big one in the Gigiri sites. And then they have the Carrefour market, which is much smaller. I like to call it a kiosk compared to the larger megas. So everybody knows this is how we decide when we pick this location, what format of supermarket are we going to deploy, right? So it allows us to make decisions. There is a checklist of where we locate and why we locate. So we can look at the location, run through the checklist. It only hits 4 of the 15 wrong location, right? So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create systems that help us make better decisions, which will now reduce the decision-making load. It will reduce decision-making fatigue and create routine. So people know this is how we start the day, this is how we close the day. I know other organizations who are retail shops. Every evening, every branch must submit its numbers. Cash sales, credit sales, pending orders, deliveries done, stock received. Each branch, it populates into a common table so that at the end of the day, you can see sales across the 10 branches, right? What we're looking for is to create space for creativity by taking the routine work out, and then we now begin to have the time to sort for glitches and challenging corners. We are not managing absolutely everything. That's also why we put in CCTV in our supermarkets, in our bigger stalls, where we're able to track. Maybe I sit with the till and my team sees the messages when someone makes a purchase. We want to be able to make better decisions. And number 4, the simplicity of the system is what makes it sustainable. Many times at the SME level, we're trying to do SaaS, we're trying to do big things. Take a deep breath, tulia, chill, right? What is the most effective system for where you are now? So we begin with the end in mind. We say we do want to have an online system that is fully enabled. We can get maybe like, Zoho can do everything. So maybe we get a Zoho, we get Odoo, whichever it is we pick. However, until we get to the point where we're generating enough income to get that system, we will run a checklist, a one-page process, we'll design our customer journey, and we will have a shared document where we can have all this information, right? So we have a shared document of every lead we generate, who generated it, where we generated it, what is the current status. What does that help us do? It helps us move through the journey without trying to rifle through papers and losing information, which means then if we're going to run a shared document, it means that everybody needs to be trained in the requisite skill so that they're able to deliver their report on a daily. I remember talking to a company in Uganda who do that. They run it on Excel. And everybody has a spreadsheet they work on a monthly, weekly basis. So you have your annual goals, and then there's a way it now breaks down to your daily targets. And it's interesting because as you complete your targets, your numbers, you have your tracking number here goes from red all the way to green. However, in the back end of the system, the team lead has the capacity, if you're approaching your targets, to raise your targets. I remember a friend of mine runs several shops across many counties, and her work is now to track. So one branch, they were very excited because they were at 90% of their goal when they closed today. She simply went into the back end, raised the goal for the month. They came back and they found they were 20%. Just because on the 5th we hit the goal, we're not going to maintain that goal. We shall up it because you have proven to us using the system that you can do more. So it puts you in a position where what you're doing is maintaining and creating clarity. Clarity is what your teams need. And you see, now when you're able to track who sells more, who does what, then when it comes to calculating bonuses, you can already tell. This one sold 20%, they reached their targets before so and so, surpassed by so much. So then you're not coming to start fighting with the employees that you increased what? Where? I've not seen it. The system is able to show it. The system is also able to show how work has been simplified and how much work we consistently do. It also shows where we consistently drop the ball, because where we are struggling, we come and say, this part of the system is not working. The beauty about simplicity is when you have models that work, upgrading and shifting your teams to do better is not difficult at all. It's not at all difficult. So what we're looking to do is to develop systems that are simple enough so that we are growing moderately before we now begin to seek sophistication. What matters first is to teach our teams the culture of consistency. What does that also mean? It means that I, as team leader, must be number one in feeling that process. I must be most loyal. And this is where many of us go wrong. We want our people to follow processes. We don't want to be held to account. The minute I, as team leader, decides I'm not following the process, is the minute my teams will stop following it and we're going to fall off the bus. So we build systems so that we can be free to be more strategic, yes. But we also build systems so that our growth is measurable, our growth is consistent, and our clients are happy, because happy client, happy life. When our clients are happy, they go and they bring us more and more people, and we're able to keep going. So remember, I said it can be very simple. So I went to the simplest of the simple. And this is what I want us to do this week. Choose a recurring activity in your business and document it very simply. What is it? What outcome should it produce? What steps are involved in that process? Who is responsible for each step? What tools are needed at each step? And how will you know the process has been completed? Now, because it is your business, because you have been doing it alone, because you know the outcome you desire to achieve, you should be able to write this. Now, some of us have taken over businesses that we do not know what happens. We just keep telling people, I need money. So maybe it is time for you to immerse in the business. Because here's the thing. We start the business, learn the processes, do them ourselves, document them, and then our teams will work with them. As they're working with the system, because for me it is logical and it takes me to where I want to go, it may not be as logical for my team. As they give me feedback, then I am able to turn around and say, okay, that makes sense. Or they say, ma'am, this is not working. Maybe we could do X, Y, Z, and we go that direction. Start simple. If you are much bigger and you've been around for longer, go for a bigger system. If you have never designed a system, start simple. So you take one task, answer all these questions, build the system around it, take the next task and the next and the next. Remember we said we start from our most common task. There are some things that we can shelve for a bit as we sort out everyone else. But what is the one task that must be sorted and settled today, or else business is not going to work? That's the first one you document. All right? When you have done that, the next thing you do is pick the next task. And I listed some tasks we could be doing. Responding to inquiries. How do we take inquiries? Some people say, isn't that obvious? In business, we say that is not obvious. So when it's a phone call, what are the questions to ask? When it's an email, what is the process? When it is a WhatsApp text, what is the process? And I really love WhatsApp for business. And most of us as business owners should be using it, because it now allows you to track leads as new lead, follow up, recurring, existing client. It gives like 6 options you can follow up. What is your quotation preparation process? What is your invoicing process? Remember how sometimes you work with corporates and you ask them, can I have the invoice? They're like, let me talk to finance. Then finance asks, have they submitted PIN? Have they submitted here? There are all these things you need to have submitted before you can get the invoice done. I remember the word invoicing for us some teaching work done in a school, and they needed an e-team. So there was a whole list of things we needed from them. We needed their PIN, we needed their contact person, contact number, email, and something else. So then we generate it, and then now we're told, don't send it to so-and-so because they are not there in finance. Send it to this person and copy to this person. So when marketing comes and says, we've not sent our invoice, I do a screenshot. I say, oh yes, we did. We copied you and we sent it to so-and-so. Because they have defined processes. What's your customer onboarding process? What's your customer maintenance process? How do you process orders? How do you deliver products and services? What's your timeline for after sale service? How long after sale do you keep following up? Is it the kind of order that clients quickly reorder? So do you have a follow-up process for, let's say you're using a shea butter or body butter, and estimate this takes somebody 3 months. So Do you have a way to remind yourself to prompt Chesuvire after 2.5 months to just check, hi, how is it going? You remember it's almost time for your reorder. And I remember my nail tech, the one I used to go to before I moved, we used to laugh about it, sitting there at her desk because she knows I'm a business coach. She's like, how do I look for people? I said, oh, well, if they've not been back for a while, chat them. And then I looked her fold and true to form. 2 months later, she's like, hi, Mama, how are you? I said, oh, I'm really good. How are you? How are you? It's fantastic. My response told her I'd moved because I've never been back, right? Who helped her design the system. So I was laughing when she messaged me because I'm like, this is my work. We talked it through. We said if you don't see a client in this time frame, reach out to them, find out if they're okay, ask them if they need to book an appointment. So for each process you have, yes, sometimes it looks like a lot of work, but you do the work front end, and then your teams implement back end and consistently, and all is well with you. Before we conclude, do we have questions, reflections? What has stood out for you? What do you think you can go out and do? Let me see some responses. I have talked a lot. Do we have questions and reflections? Any questions and reflections? Or reflections? All right. If all is well with you, please put an AW in the chat for all is well. All's well. If all's well with you, please put an AW in the chat. Then we can conclude. Excellent. Sometimes we do things naturally, not aware of the process. Exactly. Sometimes the process is not the first thing we're thinking about. So then I have a question for everyone. Thank you. I see your AWs coming up. When's the last time you looked at your system? All right. If it is never, please put an N in the chat. If it is this week, put a TW. If it is last week, put an LW. And you can put, if you've never done it, put an ID. I don't know, IDK. This week, excellent. So 1 year ago, all right, all right. I don't know, okay. I'm waiting for a few more responses. A long time ago. All right, some more responses. Let's have two more people respond. I don't know. Okay, one more response 1 year ago. So for all of us who haven't looked at it in the last 1 week, is there something today you've realized that is the reason why your system is not working? Is there something? Have you seen something that could be different if your system was working? If yes, put a YY in the chat. If not, nothing, put an NN in the chat. Because I want us to reflect deeply enough to go back to do something about it. Have you seen something you can do? Fantastic. I see the YY there. You know, the reality is all of us need to assess our systems regularly. When starting a new business, can you build a system from the get-go? Absolutely. That is the intention. And this is what Stephen Covey, I love his book, 7 Habits for Highly Effective People. I got stuck at begin with the end in mind. So what you do, let's say you're going to, okay, tell me what business do you want to do, and then we see how we can systemize in advance. You can just put in the chat or you can unmute and speak. Beauty product for mature women. All right. So you think about it in this way. You may not have sales, but you're already talking to people who could potentially be your clients. So as you talk to them, document how your conversations go. You know how dealing with one generation is different from another. So as you're talking to these women, find out how they like to be reached. So you're like, so if I was to sell this to you, what would be your primary mode of contact? Do you prefer WhatsApp? You list whatever options you have. And then when you're doing that, you're already beginning to document how your sales and marketing system will work. When you're producing, of course, as you begin to produce to make your product, there will be a process and a recipe for lip balm. There's a process and recipe for body butter. There's a process and recipe for scrub. So as you're developing each of those recipes, you document the system behind it. Take 600 grams of shea butter, add 100 grams of coconut oil, add yellow castor, add black castor. So you know the quantities, you know the process with which you will put them together. Bring to a boil of a double broiler for X number of minutes, add your essential oils. So those ones, naturally, because of the manufacturing process, you will definitely determine your system for making. But you also need to design how you will clean your equipment for sustainability. All right. So you think through every process you have, you think through every product you're making, you think through every activity you will do, and you can have preliminary systems. The idea is that over time you will refine them to what will be your final system. So you start with an idea. These are the possibilities of what we can do, and then you test them. And depending on the responses you get, you adjust those processes to that. All right. So that's how you would begin when you're putting in systems even before you have actually gone full scale on the business, because you always have that phase of testing. I hope that is useful. I realize that I have not allocated time in the week to review the business systems. Excellent. I'm glad it's useful. So, what are you going to do about that? When you identify where your gap is, the next step is to set up the solution or the answer to that. Remember, we said at the beginning, we're in the business of pattern recognition. So, what are our current patterns? Which ones are working that remain? Where do we have gaps? How do we fill those gaps? Because in pattern recognition, the core thing is not just to identify the pattern, but to create the solution. So if your systems are online or easy to access and it's a shop, what can you do on a daily basis in the evening? What can you do on a Friday afternoon or Saturday morning if you close on Friday to have a global overview? Or I found a friend of mine who's in the retail, and what she does in the evening, she looks at numbers. In the morning, she refreshes, and by morning, she wakes up at 3 so she can have her quiet time, her meditation, her workout, and then between 5 and 6 before she needs to get her son up, she runs numbers, understands where they need to be, knows what needs to be in the banks, texts all her employees, and then she starts the school run. By the time she gets to the office at 7:20, yeah, she gets off about 7:20, everybody knows what they need to do. So by morning, everybody knows how much money needs to be in each account and who is holding which money and where it is banked, if it was not already banked yesterday. All right. So find for yourself what are the best times for you to do that review and make sure you do it. Because remember, the business is yours. It is your business. So if no one checks the systems, if you don't check the systems, nobody will. All right. So as a reflection, and that we've kind of done part of the reflection as we were doing the questions, just think through what activities repeat weekly, which ones depend entirely on your memory. Those are the ones you need to get out and onto paper. Think about if somebody joined you tomorrow, which tasks would be difficult to explain because they're not documented, document them. Where do mistakes occur because everyone has a different way of doing the same work? If you're in the production business, this cannot happen because you will lose clients, you'll have a bad batch, right? And which single process could create the greatest improvement if it became consistent? So you reflect on all this and you figure out, happened your tuko, this is where we are, this is what needs to change, and then begin to change. Now, when you are changing, please remember to do it one process at a time. Overload yourself and try and change everything. If there's an issue in marketing, go into marketing, document your processes, find your gaps, solve your gaps, settle. Then move to the sales process, find, solve, settle. Move to how you manage your money. So you go systematically instead of randomly, because when you try and do it randomly, it gets overwhelming. So what I'll ask for the week is just identify one recurring activity and document it as your first SOP. That's it. Keep it simple, focus on clarity, not perfection, and test it as you work. When that SOP is functional, now you move to the next. Because businesses do not become scalable because founders work harder. No. We build scalable businesses because the important things are done consistently, regardless of who's doing them. So if consistency only happens when it is you at the wheel, allow me to say this, you are the problem. If your teams cannot deliver like you, write an SOP, train them. And sometimes you will find your teams just cannot deliver. Change them. I don't think if you had a bad engineer or a bad mixologist, you would keep them. If you're a restaurant and you have a bad barista and people are always complaining about bad coffee, would you keep them? No. So what we are doing is building systems that allow us to be consistent regardless of who is doing the work. If we have no more questions, allow me to hand this over. Okay, so we need a personal system for ourselves as business owners before or besides having the systems of the business. Yes, because you run it. So you need to know how you are going to make time in your day to remain healthy, balanced, well, not balanced, integrated, because I think balance is the wrong word. To remain healthy, integrated, and keep a good eye on the business. So now, if you're haphazard, your home is haphazard, your work is haphazard, your business is haphazard, there's a limit to how far you can go. I've learned that the hard way. Because sometimes doing less is actually more productive than doing everything. So what is it that you can systemize and hand off to others? If you brought in somebody as your marketing agency, do you realize you have to systemize your internal processes to be able to work with them? You need to have defined your brand. Do you define it with them? What you do, what you don't do, how you don't do it. So that is why you need to have had a measure of thinking in advance so that when you onboard people to work with you, they're able to keep tabs. Some things are simple, like maybe your financial numbers, you've got a bookkeeper who comes in every month, asks for management accounts. That's part of the system. You getting management accounts also confirms your sales, your cost of goods. It confirms where you are, the health of your business. So you could get your management accounts monthly. But on a weekly, when they come in, or if you have now finance people inside, then you can get weekly reports. These are sales. This is where our challenges are. And money tells you a lot of things. It will tell you which product is moving, which one is not moving, what has the highest capacity of breakage in transit, what are your big costs? Like you see, for people who are running trucks and doing deliveries, and then the diesel price hikes above the petrol price. I know people who had built a business around diesel vehicles, including their own as business owner. Now, fuel price, diesel is more expensive than petrol. If you don't have a system, you cannot see the impact of these changes. So yes, you need a personal system for yourself as a business owner and a business system. All right. Allow me to hand it over to the only original Joseph Mukoko, aka Joe.
Thank you very much for that insightful conversation, Coach Subire, and for a reminder that sometimes what is scalable might look boring, but we have to constantly repeat. And then when we repeat and we document, we iterate, improve, and we keep moving forward. So thank you very much. And thank you for everyone who is on the call this evening, even as we discuss how do we make our businesses sustainable. It's in the small little things that we do every day, repeat every time, and deliver a consistent product to our customers that enables us to move. What next? As usual, we love your feedback, so give us feedback. Your feedback is important to our growth. Your feedback is important to our well-being as a company. We thrive in feedback. So it's food for us. Give us feedback. What would you like to see more? Where have we done well? Give us the flowers. And then where can we improve even as we serve you? And as you do that, we invite those who have not yet joined our community to join the community. I have shared the link on chat. Remember, the circle is a place where you and I catalyze each other, grow. As leaders in the communities that we serve, we have a mandate to make it better for our people to grow, to make it easier for our teams to grow. And this is a place for sharing wisdom, knowledge, even as we move forward. So kindly join the community, or you could share to your teams also. Remember, we're talking about teams. If you'd like your teams to also be kept abreast of what is going on with nuggets and tips, you could share the link with your community. We have an activity in August. Is it August or August or Agosti? Whichever one works, right?
It's August.
August. August. August. Okay, that one.
You know, August means shocked.
August. No, I didn't do double English, double language. So let me just stay with my economics. Good. We are running a community event in August together with one of our team members. Is McKenna on the call? No. We are supporting teen moms, giving them hope and dignity. Sometimes life happens, and it's important for us to give them a helping hand and get them back on the right track. So hoping to have this activity in August, yes, that one. So we'll be sharing details. You could share whatever you are able to share, dry foods, cash if you can, but most importantly, we'd also like to reduce it's called period poverty by ensuring that they can at least get sanitary material pads every month to keep them going. Sometimes they miss school because of that. So it's a joint collaboration with McKenna, one of our younglings, AMC, Akiko Story, and AFI. And we invite our partners and sponsors to join. I know Eugene is on the call. Ameona. Eugene, thank you very much. So I know he will also be helping us even as we mobilize to just spend a day with them and give back and give meaning and thanks to them and to God. We've also been running an entrepreneurship series. Shasubri is with them tomorrow. Today is Tuesday, right? Yes. Shasubri is spending the day with them tomorrow. That even as they come back to life, we empower them with skills and ensure that the businesses that they start will not only grow and feed them, but be sustainable and scale. So if you'd like to join the WhatsApp group, get updates, I have shared the link. We'll also share it in the WhatsApp group. And you're free to invite your friends, family, colleagues, partners to join in this wonderful initiative. Thank you. Our meet and greet, we have pushed it forward to September to enable us just concentrate on this initiative. Make sure the young moms and the young babies, I think for Chesubire and I, those babies will be our grandchildren. Get the support that they need. It's true, Chesubire, right? And as we walk forward. So thank you very much. They're actually grandchildren. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Allow me to thank our sponsors, AFI Solutions, China Publishers, Regroup, Shala Global, the Cube Innovation Hub, Akiko Stories, Hack Integrated Services, SOA Events Institute, Aura Essentials, Thai Events. Eugene, thank you for joining the call today. Conscious Works Consult, Zurich Consulting, and Business Support Africa for their continued support, even as we disseminate practical information and knowledge that empowers you and I in the entrepreneurial space. Thank you all of us on the call this day and those who have joined consistently. And we hope that every week, not even a lot, just take away one thing and go and practice. Incremental, one, not two, one. Every week, you should be able to see a difference in your business. Allow me to thank our team at the back, Miss T-Bags, Mr. Kwe, Miss Wamboi, Miss Felicity, Miss Julia. Have I left anyone out? No. Thank you very much for your support and keeping us accountable to this community and ensuring that we not only go live, but whatever work that needs to be done continues. So asanteni sana. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless you. I was about to speak in French. Then I saw the D's and the T's coming along. God bless you and thank you so much for your work. Thank you all of us for joining the call once more. Chesubire, parting shot.
One step. Let's grow it incrementally, just one step at a time. One.
So ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Thank you very much, Chesubire, for being generous enough, courteous enough, courageous enough to sit on the hot seat and guide the conversation. So to all of us on the call, one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. The incremental value will help us to be able to grow, to scale, and continue impacting our communities. So have a good evening, have a good morning, have a good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. And from the AMC studios, we wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.